Hi everyone, my name is Tam. Welcome to the Create Business Facebook page, and thank you for joining myself and this wonderful gentleman sitting next to me, Bo from Safescape. Hey Bo.
Hi, how you going?
Good. I'm really glad that you've we're just saying how long has it taken us to
Finally get this done.
yeah. Get together and do a live stream, and I'm really looking forward to asking some questions about LinkedIn.
Which you would have thought we would have been able to organise this better given everything's virtual nowadays, but we got there eventually, so that's good.
Yeah. Welcome to, I can see you've got a few people joining us, so welcome. We're here to talk about LinkedIn and, doing some activities that'll get you more LinkedIn and LinkedIn with Bo. And if you've got any questions or comments, just pop them in. We're here for you. We want you to be part of the discussion. Bo, is your position the marketing manager, Bo?
Yep, that's me.
With a gorgeous and amazing manufacturing mining startup here in regional Victoria. Tell us a bit about what the company is that you're in, Bo, and what you're working on right now.
Yeah, sure. So I joined Safescape, the business, in November last year. So I've been on board for about 8 or 9 months now. Coming out of 20 odd years in banking and finance, it's been a really nice change because we're working on some really innovative things. The business was born in 2010, and we originally started with a escapeway ladder that they use in underground mining. And what we've seen is the business is very entrepreneurial. It's very innovative. It likes to move forward. So we've created some additional products, and now we've moved into the EV space. So we're looking at an electric light vehicle for underground mining, but this is a vehicle that could have applications far and wide beyond mining, which is really exciting. And I think for the majority of people in Bendigo to know that there's an EV being created here would astound them, I think. It certainly did me. I had no idea that something of this size and magnitude was being delivered in such a small town like Bendigo.
You know, I feel like doing star jumps because it's so good to know like there's this work and
Yep.
the people that we have got in our community. And so thank you so much for making your time available.
No worries at all.
I think we first met on LinkedIn somehow.
We did, yep.
So thank you. And then I was doing some work in electric vehicles, and everywhere I went, there you were.
Yep. Yeah, look, I think I joined LinkedIn probably in about 2008. It was at a time, I think, when it was just becoming reasonably prominent. And I saw it as a great avenue to, I guess, not accelerate my professional career, but expand my horizons. You live in a small town like Bendigo, you kind of get to know the same people, you get to know the same industries. And I think LinkedIn was one of those places where I could look beyond that. I could connect with industries or business far beyond what I saw in Bendigo, even beyond Australia. And for me, that was a really interesting thing that I wanted to be engaged with. And the other thing was that I saw it as a completely different platform to what Facebook and Twitter and everyone else was doing. You know, it was an area where you couldn't hide behind things and you had to represent yourself and your company. And so I saw a lot of the engagement being a lot more professional. So from my perspective, I just thought it was a really great platform and went about amassing as many connections as I possibly could, just out of pure interest because I wanted to see what the rest of the world was up to.
Okay. I've got a lot of questions about that, and what I'm hoping to get into today, Bo, is getting up to your three top tips for getting LinkedIn on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure.
Saying that. But if there are people out there who've got questions or ideas, love to hear from you. We've got someone who's going to share some great knowledge with you and inspire you for your LinkedIn. So it sounds like you had this sort of overlying strategy just to like spend some time in LinkedIn and click around and meet people. So if that was a tip, how on earth do you like do that? I mean, they might not necessarily know you. What's the hook there? How's that connection being created? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people got scared away in the early stages with LinkedIn kind of saying that you needed to have that professional connection or you needed to know someone intimately before you can connect with them. And I personally don't agree with that. I think it's a platform where we're only going to make the world smaller if we all connect, and LinkedIn's a great platform for that. So for me, in the early days, I set about connecting with different people in different industries, and especially those ones that I was interested in beyond where I was working. So I really looked at, sports and music and the companies that support those kind of industries, and looked and was seeing what those connections were doing. And a lot of these people, they're creating content, so they want to be connected with. They want to be able to share their content with you. So they're really happy to get a connection request. It's a really good platform.
You put a little note in that connection request?
No, never. No. And for me, it's just a personal thing. Some people love to do it. A lot of the connections I get will always have a really nice little message in there saying, we share a lot of mutual connections. I'd love to connect. But most of the time, I see it more, and dare I say it, like LinkedIn phishing. Send out a heap of lines. If you send out 10 connection requests and you get 3 people connect with you, I think that's great. The worst someone can do is just say no to your connection request. At the end of the day, so it's not a huge deal. We all move on. We'll have other things.
Gun approach.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But for me, I look at it more strategically. So if you've ever gone on YouTube and you've gone down the rabbit hole of YouTube, when you click on a video and then the next one pops up and then you just kind of find yourself watching 80s music video clips and you're just not sure how you got there. That's my strategy on LinkedIn. Yeah. That's my strategy on LinkedIn as well. So I will look at someone that I know in an industry or with a company, and then I'll start looking through what they've been putting out in content. And then I'll look at the people that have liked that content. And then I'll look at the people that is recommended from those people. And it just kind of flows on. So, especially now that I've moved into the electric vehicle space, it's an area where the communication and the engagement rate is massive. People love to be talking about EVs. So I can go on, I can find a connection, connect with them. And then through that connection, you see the types of articles they're commenting on, or they're talking about other people's content. And then it's easy to go, okay, well, this person's involved in this area, but I'm going to connect with the people that are involved with the company behind that. So it's more not so much phishing, more just a flow-on effect.
Okay. Well, welcome to those people who've joined us on our live stream, talking about LinkedIn. If you've got questions or ideas, please pop them in the chat. So we've just gone through our first tip where Bo is definitely deliberately putting time in to do some LinkedIn phishing. And
let's not use that term, I don't think.
Well, having a sense of where you're interested in meeting people in terms of industry, and just looking around the content and who's in space and building up connections. Have you, and it sounds like you've been putting a lot of time into that EV space. Is there anything else to drive your reputation in that space, and also Safescapes that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely is. And a lot of it's about thought leadership and engaging with the people that are kind of promoting that conversation. EVs is a really interesting space at the moment. We're seeing this huge transition into EVs for consumers, and obviously seeing EVs across mining and agriculture and a lot of other spaces as well. So it's a really interesting space to be involved in, and the conversation and engagement rates are really high around that stuff. So we've seen some really good success in not only the content that we publish, but also us being thought leaders when commenting on other people's content as well. So it's a bit of a two-way street. We're opening the doors of that conversation and trying to engage with as much of it as we can. And the EV space comes from different sectors. There's obviously the government side of things, there's consumer vehicles, there's manufacturers like us, and then there's just the general public who are very passionate EV advocates. So we see a whole lot of content that we can engage with. And if it's not me doing it personally, it's me commenting as the business on different things, because I think that shows that, this is something we're striving towards. And, also too, it's about bridging that brand conversation as well, because I think for a lot of people, they see a company that's involved in mining developing an electric vehicle to save the environment. It doesn't quite make a lot of sense. But, our ethos is more around bridging that gap of environment and sustainability and changing the face of mining from the inside out, and putting health of our workers first. So, with our EVs, they're going to be a lot safer underground for the people that work near and next to them. So we want to do a lot to promote that brand story and talk about why an EV is important, whether it's in mining or whether it's in a consumer vehicle. It's just a really relevant conversation.
Yeah, it's so good it's happening. Definitely have seen the traction that electric vehicles can create.
Traction, I like that.
But so that second tip maybe, Bo, is, we're making the decision, I'm going to be a player. I'm going to get in this space. I'm going to and be that thought leader who contributes to discussion. I'm going to put ideas up for discussion for others, but also I'm going to take the time to look at how other people are approaching things and comment, in that space. Would that be right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's a lot of really good content throughout LinkedIn. And I think the way a lot of people approach it's in a really good and a really professional way, which is nice. It's an area, obviously, where you're representing yourself and your personal brand as well as your company's brand. So we're seeing a lot more content that's relevant to the industries that they work in, or just relevant to what the subject matter is. There's some really good surveys and, idea generation. So a lot of people asking for opinions on things or how to solve problems. Or just getting that opinion piece shared across a community. And the EV space is great for that. There's a lot of people asking about what the next steps are or how they solve a problem or one of those things. And to me, that's a really interesting part to engage with.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely a space if you're in there regularly contributing. There's a lot of good things to learn and potentials to connect and make things happen. What else are you deliberately doing to make LinkedIn create opportunities for yourself in SafeScape?
For me personally, I try and keep those connections up as much as I can. It's not something that it's just a big number that I'm really proud to have. It's also about establishing connections on a deeper level. So, I engage with a lot of people through InMail. I have a lot of conversations with people in chats, and they're all, to me, they're really valuable, and it's taking that engagement to the next level. Although that connection might seem really disjointed to start off with, if it's just me clicking connect and not sending a personal message or anything, it's what flows on after that. If somebody's connected with me, potentially they want to understand something about what I've done or something I've experienced, or they want to know more about the business as well. And I've seen that, work for me in that regard, with connecting someone on a personal level, but them wanting to talk about the business that I'm in and how we might generate some interest from that as well. So for me, it's about that ongoing engagement, having those ongoing conversations and just keeping the ball rolling. It's not just as much about getting connection numbers up, it's about what you're doing with them as well. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me, like that, LinkedIn is, social media, but really it's, sounds like maybe carved out some time each day, like say emails or other communications or activity that you're doing to deliberately, do focused work. It's not like it's not a distraction.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I personally think it's a better platform than your Facebooks and Twitters, simply because I like the conversations that are being had. I love to go on and read comments on a post, because often it's really positive, or it's giving good feedback, or it's giving really good opinions. It's not people trolling people. It's not people just slagging people off. It's not those lowbrow conversations. I love a little bit of lowbrow from time to time, but Conversations on Facebook, they just tend to go down this bad avenue of people wanting to say something negative or hiding behind something else. And for me, I like to see a conversation that's really out and open, and it's, proactive and helpful and giving the person some feedback, or they may not always agree with them. The EV space is a perfect example where there's a lot of different opinions about what's right and what's wrong and what's the best approach and all those things, but there's a level of professional courtesy that goes with that, and there's a level of I'm happy to agree with you, but I'm going to engage with you with my opinion, but in a professional way. I'm not just going to say a heap of bad words, or I'm not going to, put a sentence together that doesn't make sense. I'm actually going to contribute to whatever is being discussed. And for me, it's a really nice change from a lot of the other things I see across social media.
Yeah, social media can be
challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. I just coming to the end of our session together, and for me, probably my biggest takeaway is I've got to admit I do use LinkedIn as a bit of a distraction from whatever I should be working on, when actually I think I need to change my focus into actually this is part of my daily mix of how I run my business, and also how I look after my brand in the industries and that I work within. So thank you. So I was thinking, probably our top 3 tips, and guide me on there. So number 1 is get out there and connect with people in the areas that you're interested in, the industry you're interested in, just like connect with heaps of people. See what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's my top tip to anyone. Get out there and connect with people. I personally don't believe you need a personal connection with someone to connect with them. And use your face-to-face opportunities as well. I was at a conference in Perth last month, and the amount of people that I met, and we struck up a conversation about LinkedIn or about social media, and we immediately connected with each other. It's a great opportune time to connect with someone when you're talking with them face-to-face, or even if you have a brief conversation with them and immediately go and follow that up with a connection request while you're fresh in their mind. I think it's a great opportunity to connect with them. And as I said, the worst thing they can do is not accept it. And really, at the end of the day, it's not big a deal.
No, it's not a big deal. So our second one is actually make the decision to be a contributor.
Yep.
So that's actively producing content, but also actively responding or commenting or interacting with other people's content as well.
Yep, absolutely. And I think a lot of people see content generation as them having to develop something, and it's really daunting. And me personally, I still don't develop much. I hope to change that over the next 12 months. I'm looking to really develop some of my own things and put it out in my own words. And I think that'll be really important. But for me, it goes beyond that. Content's those things that can be engaging with people, giving someone a like if you think their articles are okay, or going on and commenting and saying, great job, I really like this, or even just congratulating people for work anniversaries or the simple things. It's all about engagement.
Cool. And our last one is LinkedIn's not a distraction. LinkedIn is a great place to move you forward in your work and in your industry, and help you with what you're doing, and you're making some deliberate time to participate in there. Would you have amount of time you get in there each day, dare I say? So,
look, I don't have a dedicated time, but obviously there's a lot of things that, they build up. So if a conversation started around something, or we're going to post some articles, there is a lot more time that I spend on it, but then I just find 5 or 10 minutes here and there just to talk, just to look through what's coming through. And I'll just add to your point as well. I think once you get connections, it's about utilizing them as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with reaching out for help or support or advice, whether it's just as a post of your own, or whether it's, a connection that you've made. And, I know that this time last year, I was trying to work out what the hell I wanted to do with my career. And I reached out to 3 or 4 of my connections completely out of the blue. These were people I had no idea who they were, had never met them before, had been connected with them for a really long time, and just sent them an email and said, hey, I'm a bit lost. I don't really know what to do. And I pretty much had 100% strike rate of them coming back and saying, what would you like to know? What would you like to discuss? Would you like to talk about? I even had someone from a huge media agency in Sydney say, let's jump on a Zoom call for half an hour. Let's talk about who you are and what you want to do. And, you know, those kind of things are invaluable, and they wouldn't have been possible without LinkedIn.
Wow, I might steal that. That's yeah, I think that like when you do show yourself as a person, a vulnerability, and maybe a difficult question, it's like people are like, I want to step in that space and be part of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I think, you know, people love to be subject matter experts on things. And if they think that they can help someone, even if it's just a 5-minute email chat, or whether it's a phone call or whatever it might be, I think a lot of people will be prepared to go out of their way, especially if you approach them in the right way. So from my experience, it's been really positive, and certainly what I've seen in the industry as a whole, it's been the same.
No, that's exciting. I'm feeling really motivated and inspired, and looking forward to what's going to happen next on LinkedIn for me. So thank you so much for your time, Bo.
No worries at all.